Sup AskReddit? What's the saddest fact you know? All whales eventually lose the energy to surface for oxygen, so they essentially begin to sink and drown. Damn, it would be crazy if people had a problem like that. Every year it gets harder and harder to stay planted on solid ground. Gravity has less and less pull, until one day we just float away and freeze to death. That really doesn't sound bad, honestly. Imagine your time has come and you float up weightless, your bones don't hurt, you get to fly and see a bird's eye view of where your life was spent and then see what was beyond your little world. The air getting thinner sucks though. Ascending sounds cool, but yeah, the suffocation part would scare the f out of me. Also, I imagine people would try to tie loved ones down so they wouldn't go. There would be a whole industry on tethering equipment for people. Lol, I just spend the last of my days stuck to the garage roof. LMAO has a heart attack and floats to ceiling. People that hung themselves would be like human helium balloons. That's kind of lol. Edit, glad my most awarded comment is about human helium balloons. The nice thing is this often ends up in a situation called a whale fall, where entire ecosystems develop at the ocean's floor based on using the whale to live and thrive in. It's a little grim for sure, but in a circle of life way it sustains hundreds of creatures for years. Which I think is a hint beautiful. Whales that sing in the wrong key get lost and are alone in the ocean. The world's loneliest whale has been observed since the 1980s, the only known whale with a song in its frequency. The good side is that since I was already depressed before, this didn't make me depressed. No, get those whales singing lessons immediately. Natural selection at its finest. Learn to sing. Dodo birds were really friendly because they had no natural predators and we killed them all. Fun fact, it wasn't even deliberate. We introduced rats and pigs to the island that ate all their eggs. There's a recording of the last cow-iu bird singing before it went extinct. It was a mating call sung by a male bird. The song has breaks for the female bird to respond. There's no response because the male cow-iu is the last of its kind. Swans can die of broken heart when their mates die. This can happen with a number of monogamous bird species. Tawny frogmouths have been observed sitting next to their dead partner crying until they died of starvation. I once saw a galaw sitting in heavy traffic next to the body of its dead mate, heedless of the cars passing overhead. Birds love hard. Humans too. It's called Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. Often resolves over time, but it does take some people every year. Some astronauts in the Challenger disaster survived the initial explosion and only died once the orbiter hit the water. Can't imagine how the few felt when their shuttle exploded, some of their colleagues dead and they are plummeting rapidly to their death. The good news is that while they may have been alive, there is very little chance they were conscious. Not sure how long they stayed conscious, but there were switches activated that indicated they were following protocols for an unexpected event. Forget the details of what was done, been a while since I did that depressing read. Some of the crew turned on their emergency air supply. A majority of people, when asked, would rather die at home than at the hospital. A majority of people, when recorded, die at the hospital rather than at home. Sad fact. I work in the hospital and from my perspective it's mostly the family members who do not know how to deal with death that keep the patients in the hospital rather than at home. I get it's super hard to allow a loved one to die, but we have to talk about it as a society more. My grandpa suffered a stroke months after the Cubs won the World Series, December of 2017. He lost his ability to talk, walk, everything. Up to that point, he was 100% independent mentally and physically. He was born in the same home he lived in for his entire 90-year life. The longest he had ever been away from home was his final hospital stay. After the hospital, he was moved to long-term care facility. My grandmother had passed away a year sooner, and her birthday was February 12th. We planned to move Grandpa away from the long-term care facility on February 14th. At 2 a.m., February 13th, he passed away in the facility before we could bring him back. He couldn't communicate with us or move, but he lived till Grandma's birthday and then decided he had enough. He was an amazing man. Researchers accidentally killed the oldest animal in 2006. Ming the clam? Who the hell called a clam Ming? They must have been clamming up when asked for a name. Its actual name was Hafren. It washed up on the shores of Iceland in 2006. It got the name Ming from the Sunday Times because it was born during the Ming Dynasty. Source. They also cut down the oldest tree sometime before that. And a drunk driver hit the most remote tree, killing it. The chopping down of the oldest tree is slightly amusing. Some scientists, UNLVIIRC, were participating in a forest cleanup. They chopped down the tree and took a core sample like they always do. When analyzing their samples, did they then realize their mistake? I learned today that if a grizzly bear has a single cub, it will abandon it. Damn, I didn't know grizzly bears shop for milk and cigarette. Weird, what's the reason for this? The hypothesis is that a single cub will need 3 years of care, while if she abandons a single cub now, next year or the year after that, she is more likely to have twins or even triplets. This isn't some set law though. It was just observed on at least some occasions, and a reasoning guess. Why don't they just ask the mama bear on why she does that? You first. Stephen Hawking died a little over a year before the first photograph of a black hole. He knew how they looked anyway. It was black and hole-shaped, yeah? He also died before he could go to space. He was going to go up on one of the first Virgin Galactic flights into space. The Virgin Galactic logo is an iris that is a picture of Stephen Hawking's iris. Why did I read your second sentence as he was going to be one of the first virgins in space? An octopus dies after giving birth because she stops eating while hatching their eggs. Edit, she lays eggs and does not give birth. And she protects that egg and therefore eats nothing until it has hatched. I really didn't think right while typing the sentence, I'm sorry. The inevitability of entropic decay, I guess. I used to worry about death, then I thought I could live on through others, then I realized those others will eventually die, then I realized that even if they build a statue of your greatness and fill history books with your name, civilizations will crumble, history will be forgotten, stars will burn out, until eventually the heat death of the universe. I used to romanticize Star Trek as the ultimate goal of humanity, but now I realize that no matter how much we progress, how well we get along and focus on a common goal, how much of space we explore, how many planets we terraform, no matter how much we try to bring peace and order to chaos, everything and everyone will eventually die and become nothing. And what's worse, in this incredibly temporary and meaningless existence most conscious creatures get, they are miserable, mistreated, exploited, unfulfilled, trodden upon and left behind for others to get ahead. So basically working on a Saturday is bullshit. Do you often gaze up at the midnight sky wondering if all that looks back at you is the unforgiving heat death of the ever lonelier, expanding universe? Then like and